everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Masters of CX brought to you by ET Brand Equity. Our today's guest needs no introduction in the world of flavor, innovation, and immersive customer experiences. He is at the helm of Tim Hortons India, steering the ship through a journey that goes far beyond just a cup of coffee. We are delighted to welcome Mr. Tarun Jain, the CEO of Tim Hortons India, a seasoned leader with a penchant for blending global excellence with the vibrant Indian culture. Tarun, a very warm welcome to you. It's a pleasure to have you today on the show.
Thank you, Jasvi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tarun, before we dive in, let's talk about the unique flavor of Tim Hortons India brings to the what it brings to the table in a diverse market like India. How does a brand infuse local culture and tradition into its operations, creating that special connection with Indian consumers beyond just the products? Basically, how are you basically creating the CX excellence, keeping Indian consumers in mind? Over to you.
Okay, so I'll have to start at the beginning for that. It's a very interesting question, and a lot of people are curious, especially when an international brand comes into a market as diverse and rich as India culturally. Then how do they go about it? And I think it's a very pertinent question. Before we even started operations, we started operations in August of 2022, but I think the work actually started about a year before that. And there's a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of understanding the customer that happens before you can actually launch the brand into the market. So we had a lot of consumer engagement, a lot of marketing interactions where we evaluated what is the right positioning, what is the right product mix, what is the right marketing tools that we need to use for Tim Hortons India. And while obviously Tim Hortons has a very rich cultural heritage of its own and a very proud product culture. But when you come into a market like India, you also need to understand what is it that the Indian consumer is looking for. So like I said, we had about a year of research that went into it to understand what specifically the customer is looking for in coffee, what is he looking for in food, what is he looking for in desserts, what is the kind of variety that he's looking for, because every market has its own nuances of operations, right? So we had a lot of learnings that came our way during that. So when you say, other than product, I believe product is the key, is the code through which we communicate to the customers. And getting that right is very, very important. So when I say getting it right through an initial market study, that is something which is relevant to the Indian clientele in general. Obviously, when we go into more local, more distinct markets from north to south or west, obviously there's the second round of research which happens, which is more local, which is more pertinent locally to see what are the kind of taste preferences that people have in that particular market. But now coming back to the launch, right? So we did a lot of research on how the coffee should taste. What is the right level of coffee tasting parameters, acidity, bitterness, all those things. What is it that the Indian consumers like? So we did a lot of research on that. A lot of things on food, because, the cafe culture in food till that point was pretty much, the food was an add-on to the coffee. And we realized that people are really expecting a little more. They're expecting much more than a product sitting on the shelf and you just warm it up and serve it. They were definitely expecting much more. And thankfully, Tim Hortons brings with it a very, very good food culture as an extension of the coffee culture. And we have a lot of products. In fact, most of our food is made fresh on premises, served on premises. And so that adds a whole new dimension to the food, Plus also, then we also have donuts and timbits, which is again unique to us in a way, in a cafe environment. And that adds a third dimension to the offering that we bring onto the table. So, the coffee, the culinary side, I think those were two big levers which we did a lot of research on, which told us a lot about what we need to put on the table and how we need to interact with the customers. So that is as far as the product is concerned. Now, coming to local design elements. So, I mean, ambience or design is a second big vertical, how we communicate to the customers, because, the interiors communicate and talk to the customers when they come in, right? So while it is an international brand, so, there's a lot of expectation in terms of the interiors have to be, globally relatable, right? But at the same time, India has its own unique elements. So when we open a store, we do try and incorporate the local elements, whether it's the local art, whether it's the local, flavor of color, of tapestry, of surfaces that we use in the construct of the store. So I think that itself brings in a lot of familiarity with the local customers. We also do a lot of local product trial and research, like I mentioned earlier. So let's say we have a menu which is pretty much common across all of India, but we also have some parts of it which are unique to a certain market. So when we went into Mumbai or we went into Bangalore, we did some research on what are the locally acceptable flavors that people are looking for, and we kind of incorporate that into our menus. Other than that, I mean, India, of course, has a very, very rich cultural tapestry, and any brand would love to associate with such a rich flavor. So we participate in a lot of festivals. We participate in a lot of local promotions that happen. So, and it gives a lot of impetus to us, to how we do things and how creative we can get with our menus. And something like Diwali happens or Holi happens, or something even as regional as Lodi happens, we're able to, sometimes devise a special product for that occasion to celebrate it. Because let's say, I mean, Diwali, it's a very sweet-oriented occasion, very desert-oriented occasion. So we did something which was, adding on to that particular dimension in the menu. We just celebrated Lodi in Punjab, where we did some offering which was very unique to Punjab at that point of time. So I think as a whole, we engage with India at one level, and things are localized to that degree, and then also to the regional level.
Speaking of tailoring, the Indian market is known for its incredible taste, as you just mentioned. So, how does Tim Hortons India keep its finger on the pulse of evolving food trends and make nimble menu adjustments to stay in sync with ever-changing preferences of Indian consumers?
So, like I mentioned, the only way to do it is to hear what the customers have to say, to keep your feet on the ground, your ears on the ground rather, and understand what the customer is saying. So, as Tim Hortons International, we get a lot of insights into what is happening internationally. So, what is happening in the other markets that Tim Hortons operates in, what are the global food trends. We get a lot of visibility to that. So that is, one input which comes in. The other input is obviously from the local market. What are the trends which are working out? What is popular with the millennials at a certain time? What are they looking for? And obviously, customers tell a lot. So we do a lot of product innovation, and usually we get bouquets. Sometimes we also get some feedback to say where the corrections are to be done. And we have a very robust system of collecting feedback from the customers, which is right from direct to social media listening. All the tools have been deployed to make sure that a customer is able to leave a feedback. And for us, a feedback is a 360-degree approach. It starts right from what they think about the entry and the welcome to the point that they actually leave the premises, and that's for customers who dine in. For customers who order online, again, there are a lot of social media listening tools that we deploy, a lot of feedback tools that we deploy. Google ratings are there. We look at all the aspects of the feedback, we collate that, and then we kind of figure out what is it that we need to do. And I mean, the application could be across the country, the application could be local, it could be product related, it could be service related. But I think that gives us a lot of information, and that kind of keeps us on our toes all the time.
Okay, so speaking in detail about the conversations, so Tarun, what mechanism does Tim Hortons have in place to actively listen to concerns, like gather insights and then roll up sleeves to implement improvements, fostering a culture of continuous enhancement? And also, if you could share some of the examples of how we are engaging with customers continuously.
So, like I said, it's a continuous process, and there are various channels that you have to deploy to make sure that you listen to customers as much as you would like to. So for us, it starts with, for example, our own assessment. We have mystery audits that happen across the stores every month, where people go in as customers and they kind of experience the whole gamut of services and product, and they report back to us in a certain format. Because see, the customer feedback gives you certain aspects to it. It may not be 360-degree all the time, right? So we do our audits internally, and we see what is happening in the stores. Are we performing the right way, and where are the margins of improvement over there? Also, the product feedback comes in. We may design the product in a certain way, but is it actually being executed when we are not looking? So that gives us one tool. When it comes to actual customer related tools, it starts, like I said, we have 3 or 4 channels for dining customers. So every bill that we generate, whether it's a digital bill or it's a physical bill, it has a QR code which request feedback from the customers. And again, it's a very elaborate feedback covering very specific items on their journey in Tim Hortons. Then other than that, we have QR codes on tables everywhere where you can scan and you can leave a feedback. There's an online tool, there's an email ID on which people can respond. When it comes to delivery orders, there is we attach a lot of importance to the rating, and the feedbacks, because that's a more critical off-premise service in a way. So we really need to see how the product is landing, and how the journey is for the food over there. So we very actively look at, every week we have a review on what are the ratings, what are some of the feedbacks, and there is a lot of improvement which happens out of that. I must tell you that, because sometimes we may think we are doing the right thing, small things which customers come back to and say, listen, this is not working out, or this needs to improve, and it gives us a lot of timely input to correct and make sure that other customers also have a good experience.
If we talk in more detail about like how does the backend infrastructure look like and tech stack that keeps the wheels turning smoothly for a seamless customer experience, how is it going there?
So see, in terms of tech, there is tech available today which kind of works on various channels. We use third-party applications on cloud which kind of sift through the various levels of data that comes in and tells us that what is it relevant, what is not relevant, what is immediately urgent to attend to, what is something which is a long-term correction needed, or and I think those tools get sharper as technology progresses. So I think in times to come, with AI coming into the picture, we would like to keep a direct dialogue with the consumers, because I think that is very, very important. But in terms of how we analyze and how we action it, I think increasingly AI will play a role in that as well.
So now on to another fascinating aspect, which is data analytics. So how does Tim Hortons India leverage tools and algorithms to turn customer behavior into actionable insights, steering like personalized marketing strategies and menu recommendations? How is it going there? And if you could also speak about the retention techniques and everything.
See, I think when it comes to retention, what is very important is that a customer feels heard, and what he has to tell is given its due importance and recognition. And I think that is, for a customer to tell us that, I think he actually does us a favor, because he doesn't have to, right? We go as customers into cafes and restaurants, and we have a meal, and we are happy or delighted or not delighted, we can just walk away, right? But if we actually love and care about the brand, then is the time when we actually invest our 5 or 10 minutes and say, listen, you guys are normally good, but this can be better this way, or I feel this could be like this. And I think in this business, especially when it comes to food, it's a very personal business, and while data analytics and AI will have their role to play for sure to make it easy for us to interpret, but I think that eye of going through every feedback, going through every customer input and say, what exactly is here between the lines, what exactly is here that we can do, what is relevant to what category of stores, or what location of stores, and how much are we able to adapt to the specific feedback, given that it's a global brand and it's a national brand having presence all across, and it operates in multiple channels. For us, a particular feedback may be relevant at an airport store, may not be relevant at a highway store, and vice versa. So, there are various levels of inputs that are needed to study. There are various levels of data analytics that will, kind of develop and evolve to be able to support that. Right now, we do a lot of, personal study into this, so that, we can get to a stage where the data analytics does justice to what we have to look for.
Okay. And Tarun, that's a really fantastic approach. But as we wrap up, let's look at the bigger picture. If you could talk about the growing coffee culture in India, are we seeing a new market for coffee buffs, like from tea to coffee now? So, and how does Tim Horton position itself uniquely? Probably if you could also talk about your future plans, your investment related to the CX initiatives and so on.
Okay. So see, cafe culture, is a buzzword right now, because what we have seen happening in the last 4 to 5 years has been almost exponential growth in terms of, especially, coming out of COVID, suddenly from zero, you're able to bounce back to, and it's caused a lot of behavioral changes, and I think cafes have, as a category, benefited the most out of it because, uh, especially if you talk about international cafes like ours, where customer is looking for a safe experience, he's looking for a very clean, hygienic ambience which he can rely on and kind of make sure that he's safe in the premises, consuming what he's consuming. The extension of the workplace, the fact that working out of office became a norm in a way, right, and still continues to be so. I think that has augured well for the cafe business, because we see a lot of people who are working out of cafes finding it as a comfortable workplace. So when you say tea, coffee, we find while traditionally people say India is a tea drinking country, but if you look at what is happening today, I think people switch. I mean, a normal person may have a few cups of tea and a few cups of coffee. It's not mutually exclusive in that sense, right? And cafe culture is actually more than just coffee. It's more about how you interact with the space, with the people. You want to sit alone, you want to go with your family, you want to be dating. I think it's a space which kind of renders itself to all those uses, and it's very important because when we construct the space physically, we have to be mindful of what the customer is looking for, and the same customer could be coming back to you for four different needs, right? He could be coming back to you for work. He could be coming back with family. We see a lot of millennials coming to us with their parents because they feel comfortable bringing them into our space. We see a lot of middle-aged people coming in with their kids because they think it's a safe place. Other than coffee, there's a lot of products that they can offer to the kids. There are donuts, there are timbits, there are Tim shakes, there are salads. A lot of healthy options as well. So for us, while 100% premium Arabica coffee remains the core of the brand, fresh food remains the core of the brand, but there are so many other elements where which add a tinge of fun, engagement. So, we do a lot of, for example, with kids, we do donut dipping activity in stores sometimes. Where they can come in, they can take a donut, dip it, glaze it, dress it up nicely, and they can take it with them. And we in fact we had to extend it to groups of ladies who want to come in, and do that activity because they find it fun to do it. We do a lot of coffee tasting sessions in the store, which again educate people about what coffee is, right? So I think at a brand level, there's a lot of stuff that we have to offer apart from great coffee and good food. We've got a welcoming ambience. Our defining philosophy is "Be you" at Tim Hortons. So when you celebrate diversity, this is a place where you can be yourself, no matter which part of the country you come from. You could be working in the north, originating from south, or vice versa. You could be having your own peculiar habits of how you sit and how you eat, and you're all welcome at Tim Hortons. So I think as a brand, it has a lot of positive proposition for the customers, which is food, which is ambience, which is embracing diversity, and which is giving a great amount of confidence to the brand, to the customer in terms of his consumption.
I absolutely agree with you. And I guess that's it. A big thank you to Mr. Tarun Jain, the insightful CEO of Tim Hortons India, for sharing his perspectives and shedding light on the strategies. Thank you so much, Tarun. Thank
It
you.
was a pleasure talking to you, Ajay. You have a good evening. Thank you.
You too. Thank you so much, Tarun.